on the screen so that we can see what exactly is happening in the world of maritime and shipping. We do have a lot of resources. You said we have a potential 600 billion that we could be playing around with. But for now, Kenya's maritime sector, of course, accrues around 73 billion shillings per year, could be higher, hopefully. Fisheries contributes around 48.8 billion, and 90% of international trade is seaborne, 3 billion annually. And the State Department, of course, for Shipping and Maritime Affairs has 3 semi-autonomous government agencies. Of course, we've touched on that. These are the running arms of maritime and, of course, shipping. When the budget was being allocated, around 30% was slashed. What were your thoughts on this?
One of the things I want to say about that is, actually, the budget cuts did not affect only my State Department.
Right.
They were done across board. Okay. And therefore, for that reason, I cannot really say that we were singled out.
All right.
But be that as it may, I really want to say that the National Treasury has actually been very, very kind to us as a State Department. Right. Initially, many people within government, just like the rest of Kenyans, didn't understand what maritime and shipping is all about. Right. But when we got to explain to them the potential that is in this sector, they were able to appreciate, and for that reason, we got additional resources from the National Treasury. Right. And it's all because, as you've mentioned, this sector has the potential of generating a lot of revenues for this country. Ghana, let me give you a small case. Ghana, which we'll say has a smaller coastline, generates 10 times the revenues that we generate here in Mombasa. Right. So we have the opportunity of generating probably 20 times.
Right, but one appears. I'm curious to know. Of course, 30% is a huge chunk. I understand that all state departments have been, in one way or another, affected. What exactly did this chunk debilitate?
The chunk that you're talking about was basically there were funds. Some of them were development funds. Right. That had not been used by the time the supplementary budget came around. Right. And so therefore the National Treasury, in their wisdom, decided that they needed to reallocate those resources to other priorities. But now I want to assure Kenyans that I've been here for the last 6 months. Right. And most of those projects are now on course. Right. And therefore, we'll be going back to the National Treasury to claim back our 30%.
Well, the Treasury should be looking at this right now.
But also, we are not only looking at the National Treasury. As I mentioned, we also want to generate more of our own revenues, especially the Kenya Maritime Authority, Bandari Maritime Academy, and also the Kenya National Shipping Line. All these have the potential of being self-sustaining with own revenues.
All right.
Without being dependent on the national government.
All right. Let's just look at these numbers, once again. I'm looking at, the difference that 600 billion Kenyan shillings could make in comparison to 73 billion, of course, 48.8 billion. And of course, when it comes to international trade, which is seaborne, 3 billion comes, of course, to this particular subsector. This State Department is very important to 2 particular sectors. It touches on blue economy, which adds to the gross domestic product by about 2.5%. And of course, Kenya's transport sector accounting for 8.3% of the total gross domestic product. If you add these numbers, 73, 48, that's around 50. That's around 150 billion. Give or take, and that's, the upper limit, if I roughly add all of this. In comparison to 600 billion shillings, you have had the State Department for around 6 months now. Where do you see the State Department going in the next, say, 3 years?
Next 2 years. This will be the most attractive State Department.
Right, and that's a promise you're making.
Yes. Simply because of the potential it has. We in Kenya, we need to disabuse ourselves of this old thinking of being land-centric, of being focused on land, seeing only the benefits that land can give us. We also need to look at the sea, at the ocean, at the lakes. We are not only endowed with coastal waters where we can do coastal shipping, that is coastal marine transport,
right.
but we also have inland waters. We have Lake Turkana that can connect Marsabit, Turkana, and Ethiopia.
Right.
We have Lake Victoria, which is actually a regional lake.
Right.
There is so much that can happen there. People will tell you in the old days what was happening
Right.
between the 3 East African countries in terms of shipping.
Right.
And so the thing about this State Department and blue economy is that we need to invest in there.